You're listening to the Grassroots Church podcast. We're a Jesus-centered community in Thunder Bay, Ontario. You can learn how to participate more by going to our website at grassroots.church.
Well, friends, we are in the middle of a series. We're in the middle of our summer series called Stories from Among Us. And when I say middle, I mean this is literally only the second one. And that's because we have had all sorts of guest speakers this summer. Last week we had Brad Woods. How many people enjoyed that message from Brad? Yeah, that was fantastic. And before that, we had Russell, who was part one of this. Russell Pinson. That was a great conversation with him. And then before that, we had Michael Paul. And so anyway, this has been a busy summer in terms of just various guest speakers and that. And so today, we get to carry on with this series, and I'll introduce our individual that we'll be speaking with in a minute. But I just thought I'd give a quick kind of overview about what it is that we are trying to do in this series. This is a very unconventional series here. Typically, I come and speak for half an hour, 45 minutes or so. I don't know. But I thought, this would be, let's do things a little bit different this summer. So, by the way, if this is your first time coming or you're new to Grassroots, this is not how we typically do Sunday mornings. So it's a bit of an unconventional approach. You just have to keep coming here and figure out what it is that we do on a Sunday morning. And that'll resume sort of in the fall. But for the summer, we are doing sort of a podcast style or interview style format where stories from among us are the folks like you who have a faith story that needs to be told. And, we're a small community, we're fairly small, and I have often said, I know when I was just a congregant like yourselves, I would sit down the aisle from someone, and I would be like, I know their name, but I don't know a thing about them. And I thought, man, that is a shame. We're small enough, we should be able to kind of get to know one another pretty good. And so we can't do it with every single person here, unfortunately, but I thought one thing we can do is start to, share the individual stories of certain people in our community and get to know that, you guys get to know that person, and that person can kind of bless you with their journey. And so the idea is kind of sharing about them, getting to know who this person is that we're talking to. Then how does faith work in their life? What does it look like in their day-to-day? How did they encounter Jesus? When did they encounter Jesus? And what happened in their life? And so kind of testimonial, but also I think more than just sort of, here's, I became a Christian when I was this age and blah, blah, blah. More about what does it look like in the day-to-day lives of grassrooters to follow Jesus? When you're out there in the world, what does it look like for you? And I think that, for me, is just such an encouraging story, or an encouraging, thing to know and thing to hold on to. It's practical. It's like, we get together on Sunday mornings, we do this song and dance. No, that's not a nice way of saying it. We sing songs, and then we do a message, and you're like, yeah, that's great. But is that all that Grassroots is? And clearly it's not. Church is way more than just an hour and a half on a Sunday morning, right? Right, everyone? Yes? Good. And so we want to find out, well, what is it then? What does Christian life look like for our community? So that's what we are doing. And I have, full disclosure, I have prepared a bunch of questions for each person that comes up here, and I've sent it to them in advance. So we kind of have an idea of what the conversation will look like. But we ultimately just want to have a conversation, and we want you to be privy to it. And then, if that individual is willing, and I didn't ask her, but if there are questions that you folks have, or observations that you've made, or things that you're curious to know more about, I'd like just for a few minutes at the end to be able to allow you folks to ask those questions as well. And we did that with Russell, and I thought it was really good. So hopefully we can do that again this morning if there's time. And there's always time, because it's summer. We can go on forever, right? Yeah? No? Okay. So that's what we're doing this morning. And we're going to continue this series, Stories from Among Us. And I would like to introduce you this morning to Amy, and I'll invite Amy to come on up. This is Amy. How many people have gotten to know Amy? Yes, she is an amazing human, and I'm very, very excited to chat with her this morning. While she comes up, let me just give a reading of a bit of her background, so that you kind of have a bit of context as to who this human is. Thanks for joining me. This is Amy. So Amy was born in Tecumseh. Is that how you say that? Okay, Tecumseh, which is a suburb of Windsor. She was raised without a faith background. Her mother came from a Roman Catholic family, but that experience left some baggage. Stories of nuns warning about unbaptized babies going to hell led her mom to keep religion at arm's length, which is, I think, fair. Her dad, on the other hand, was a committed and a very vocal atheist, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that. And Amy and her brother more or less adopted that worldview themselves for the majority of your life, right? Mostly. Good. Oh, this is yours.
Hello.
There we go. Yes. So Amy spent 25 years in Metro Vancouver, where she met her husband, Wayne, who is a retired aircraft mechanic now. And they have been together for about 25 years, and they share their home with two adult German shepherds, Jade and Miro. Miro. Yeah. Sorry, okay, Jade and
we didn't
Miro.
name him.
In 2008, Amy and Wayne moved to Kaministiquia, just outside of the city here, to be closer to her brother's family and to pursue a rural, more self-reliant lifestyle. Amy is a trained registered nurse and has worked in both BC and Ontario, eventually focusing on advanced practice in palliative and end-of-life care. Her work involved pain and symptom management, advanced care planning, goals of care conversations, and complex discharge planning, especially for those navigating difficult life circumstances. So a very unique, and those are the kind of roles in this world that a very special person has to be able to do. I can appreciate that. So anyway, and I know that you are that kind of person. She felt particularly called to relieve suffering among the dying and those with progressive illnesses, and Amy stepped away from nursing at the end of 2019. So you were working here in Thunder Bay then for a couple of years as well. Okay, working as an atheist in palliative care brought its own challenges and eye-opening moments, leading her to explore faith options. And so over the past year or so, Amy has begun a new journey of faith and is now an active Jesus follower, a path that continues to shape and surprise her in all sorts of ways. Amy finds joy in growing and preserving food, weaving, reading. She's reading a lot of the books in our library, which is great. Spending time outdoors in all seasons, volunteering at the rural food bank, and sharing life with her home group and this grassroots church community. So everyone's put our hands together and welcome Amy. Amy, thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is a conversation I'm looking forward to all these conversations. And this one I think is very special. You walked into this church in January of this year, I think?
Might have been more like April or March.
It was later, wow.
It was still winter though. So
okay, it was winter, so yeah, and winter in Canada and Thunder Bay lasts forever.
Forever.
So you walked in, and can you maybe start by telling what brought you to our church? What led you here, and a little bit of you raised atheist. Can you share how you moved away from that? What led to this? What led to this
really
moment?
Lots of non-specific things, but I started talking to God. I spend a lot of time in the forest. Can everybody hear me okay? I think there was, okay. I started talking to God in the forest, and not little g God, big G God. And I really, because I was not raised with any faith background, I got exposed to a lot. Of course, working in palliative care in Vancouver or the Lower Mainland, you get exposed to, world religions, basically. So I didn't really know how to approach. I wasn't sure, but I just started having these conversations, one-way conversations really, with God in the forest. And I was trying to figure out how Jesus fit in. Really, I was. And so little by little, I started exploring that a little bit, more and more. And I think I just had ears to hear. Mm-hmm. And there he was, it really was this non-specific sort of thing. And then I started, I'd turn on Amazon Prime, and there'd be, bizarrely, because it wouldn't have come from Wayne or me.
Right.
There'd be, there was a series called Jesus the Game Changer. And I don't know if anybody else has had a chance to see it, but it was great for me anyways. Yeah. So I started, exploring that. And then I was like, well, let's look at the Bible. So I want to start in the Old Testament. Okay, not probably the place for me to start.
Yeah.
But then I somehow stumbled across I was looking at churches in Thunder Bay because I thought I need to not do this on my own. I need to, find a community. And I stumbled across your set of sermons on how to read the Bible.
Oh, yes. Right.
And so
that was this past spring.
Yeah. And then in reading the Bible through the eyes of Jesus, basically through a Jesus lens, and that made just perfect sense to me. It just did.
Wow, that's amazing.
And
feels really good.
In fact, for me, and I think everybody's sort of on the same page, the teachings and example of Jesus are how we should be living.
Yeah.
Right. And I've been reading a lot from the library, and I've really taken this sort of shine to Tom Holland lately. And
anyone know who Tom Holland is? Yeah,
he's a historian, and I think had kind of a Christian background and was not Christian for years, and now is very clearly Christian.
Yeah, he's become that.
Yeah. And he says, there's so many things about our world that we take for granted as being human rights, but there was no human rights before Christianity brought these things into being. And I think there's lots of debates about this, but charity and hospitals and education for everyone, and not leaving your babies out to be exposed in the dump. But, all these things came from early Christianity.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And I think what we are maybe seeing now, because these things have been taken away from a Christian faith, and there's a humanist sort of component to them, is I think what we're seeing is it's not working without faith. And
I wonder if you can speak to that a bit more from your observations. Like, when you say it doesn't mean, it looks like it's not working from a faith perspective, or without faith. What does that mean?
Just an example that I'm borrowing from someone I heard speak on it is, I think the previous Pope, Francis, spoke at the UN and was saying that, all these things were based on Christianity,
right,
to a great degree. And he was basically saying, like, it's not working,
right,
because there's no more faith-based. And human rights, from the understanding that I have and the reading that I've been doing, a lot of human rights that we take for granted are faith-based.
Yeah.
They don't come from other faiths.
They're unique to the Christian faith.
They're a lot of them are quite unique to the Christian faith.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
now we have a world that is moving away from the integration of religion and faith into our society and trying to, push it off to the side. And yet we're still trying to push these human rights. And Francis is saying that it's becoming hollow, right? Like, there's no substance to it.
There's no substance to it.
There's no rationale for why we want to preserve human dignity, for instance, or
and why all human life has value.
Right.
Because there's no faith to back it up. It's not
grounded in anything. Yeah.
So interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah. Have you always been an avid reader?
Yes.
Yeah. And so now you're reading these books here. Are you just overwhelmed all the time?
Yes. Yes. There's so much, and you read so much, and then that takes you down another rabbit hole, as everyone's probably experienced. You read something, and this is all so new for me.
Yes, this is brand new. So
Gospels are new. Everything is brand spanking new. I had a very kind of rudimentary understanding of the big stories. Noah.
Yeah. But not
Genesis,
beyond that, really. Hey.
Samson. And all that kind of stuff, but nothing.
Yeah. So just on that note, so you were raised without religion. You were raised very sort of vocally atheistic, as your father as your father was, and presumably you read a lot of books to that end as well. Over growing up, were you reinforced with those with literature, I don't know, all that kind of stuff, or not really? Maybe
not so much. Okay. I think that didn't even become a thing really until maybe the Richard Dawkins kind of
the new atheist or whatever.
Yeah.
But you also explored other religions. You explored Buddhism, I recall correctly. Can you speak a little bit about that? And not to poo-poo that religion or anything, but how did that differ than what you encountered in Christian faith?
Well, so a lot of mindfulness and meditation, and those are good things, and they do have a higher value on human life.
Yeah.
But I found all the idols and all that a little
Oh,
hard taken
yeah.
because I had that background of
Aversion to
that.
Yeah.
That sort of just turned me off. I mean,
Sure.
there's a lot of good practices, and not being
Disciplines.
consumed with your things. It's
Yeah.
very non-materialistic, and they talk a lot about suffering, and suffering is due to attachment, and
Right.
some of these things aren't that far off of
Sure.
Christianity,
yeah.
really.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's truths in all of these things,
There
aren't
is.
there? Yeah. Great.
And Buddhism evolved from Hinduism
Okay. I didn't know this.
because Hinduism is very class structured,
yes.
and so there is no equality.
Right.
And so Buddhism sort of takes you out of that.
Right. Transcends that,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I love that all of that curiosity about deeper things led you to Jesus, ultimately. Isn't that beautiful? Can you speak about, now, as a palliative care nurse, end of life nurse that dealt with pain and suffering of others and kind of like witnessed all that firsthand, you didn't have a worldview, a Christian worldview, to kind of make sense of all of that. How did you make sense of it? Like, what was that like, going through a career without something to ground your faith or ground your perspective in, as you dealt with this day in and day out, right?
Very much. I was the sort of physical and psychological issues, and if someone had faith-based questions, I'd say, it sounds like you have faith-based questions. Maybe should I consult spiritual care? And then
Okay.
like Corey might come in.
Yeah.
or-
Did you know Corey
I
beforehand?
didn't. He came
okay.
after I
Oh, yeah.
left. But
Corey Hoogstein in our community is a person who deals with that.
But that's what I would do. And sometimes though, people would say, "No, I want to know what you think because this is what you do."
So you'd be put on the spot. What would you say in those moments?
Oh, there's a lot of quoting of Joni Mitchell. Like, honestly, like,
That's great.
yeah, because you also, it was important to be honest, to people and sincere. But I wouldn't be like, nothing happens. Like, you can't say that to people. So there was a lot of quoting of Joni Mitchell.
Did any of those interactions in that season of your life working with folks who are dying, did that stir deeper questions in you? And then if it did, what did you do with that? Did you just kind of shove it down?
Well, that's sort of where the Buddhism came from. So one of the physicians I worked with on the coast was Buddhist.
Okay.
And so you get that sort of exposure, and then you'd have Buddhist patients.
Right.
And then sometimes you just push it down and move on to the next patient or deal with the stuff you could deal with, because there's always lots of stuff going on, right?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Now that you have sort of more comprehensive worldview and this deep faith in Jesus, are there times where you like, I wish I could go back and minister in that capacity in a different way? Like, do you have that desire, or are there ways that you're able to do that now anyway in your current life?
I probably wouldn't go back. Now, it's been a few years, and I think over time, a lot of things sort of get run they run together. You don't I have, there's a few that stand out, but usually it was because of other things, so it's hard to say. It's an interesting question, so I have some difficult people in my life.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, I have some difficult people in my life, and there's been some big changes lately.
Really?
Big changes. And so I wonder if some of it's clearly coming from me.
Yeah.
Because you have to own some of the instigation of difficulty.
Yeah.
But yeah,
this is the work of sanctification in our life. That as we follow Jesus and draw closer to Him, He does this painful thing often of refining us, and we talked about that in our Theodicy series, where sometimes we have to go through the fire, and He reminds us of things that we need to take care of and deal with. And it seems like this is sort of the process you're in as well, right? And it's not usually fun, but boy, is it ever rewarding when you get on the other side of it.
It's so much better right
yes,
now.
It's so much better, isn't
so
it?
Much better.
Yeah, amen. That's great. So a lot of your current lifestyle is very intentional. You're working with the the food bank in town, right?
I do the rural food bank.
Oh, the rural food,
out
right, the
in
rural
Conwy.
food, right, and yeah, you're volunteering there. You grow a lot of food. And anyway, what's important to you about living this intentional way? Like, why have you sort of chosen that? Have you always been that way, or is it just in the last couple of years?
Probably mostly have always been that way, but
Yeah.
I've refined it as I've been retired now.
Yeah.
My time is working with people that are sick and dying,
Yeah.
and things change quickly in our lives. You take on a much more intentional focus in your life. You just, that's just how it is, you know.
Some
We
people
know
don't.
that-
Some people like turn inward and they like focus on themselves. And you've chosen very deliberately to turn outward and to like help the world around you, which is beautiful. And I mean, I'd love to say that's because Jesus is working in your life, but you've been doing that for a while now, right?
Yeah, but I think I'm getting out there a little bit more. Like, it really took me a lot
Oh yeah.
to get it to come in here
To
the
step
first
in
time.
the store. Oh really?
Yeah,
Hey?
the first time I came in here, and I'd been like, I've been watching online.
Oh yeah.
Watching online, and I've listened to like I think 2 years worth of messages.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So before I could get my buns in the door, basically, right? Like,
Wow, that's great.
and
So
then you came and sat with me the first time, and I thought, oh, like, you know. And then Linda
you're making me
came and like
blush.
Linda turned around and started talking to me, and like Carol started talking to me, and like right away,
yeah.
it was like,
because it's community.
this is a lovely community.
It is a lovely
right?
community, you guys. Thank
And
you.
it seems intentional, and
Yeah.
you know, I love the home group. Like, we get together and we have meaningful conversations, and seems like we pick out nice literature, and then we help at their soup kitchen. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
This was not meant to be a pat our back kind of thing. This is just you being
but
honest, right? Yeah.
it's why I keep coming back. And I
Sure.
didn't, you know, you can look at like nothing against Redwood Church or the
No,
other ones,
yeah.
but they're huge.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. You would never have gotten me up in front of
No.
500 people. No.
I feel
But
like
this
the
is
fact
like
that
a
you-
lovely summer.
Yeah,
like,
it's
group.
perfect.
It was
The right
like
amount of
50
people, eh?
It's perfect. Yeah.
I feel like the fact that you have gotten to know so many people, and because we're small enough, it allowed you to kind of like have the confidence to speak up here, right?
Yes.
Oh, you're so
This
good.
is just not me.
Okay, so I mean, you're sort of already speaking to this, but yeah, what has been your experience like finding community here at Grassroots and in your home group, and how has that helped in your faith journey? Can you speak to any of that specifically, or?
Well, I'm doing this on my own. So no
Right.
one else in my family, for
Right.
sure.
There's no one else,
there's
yeah.
no one else in my family. I mean, I've visited some of my elderly relatives when I was in Windsor not long ago, and they're very Catholic.
Right.
So that they appreciate, you know, they
Yeah, you
but,
can speak some of the same language.
Yeah,
sure.
but I'm doing this on my own. Wayne is not doing this with me. My brother certainly is not doing this with me. You know, my dad is certainly not doing this with me.
Yeah.
Like, so it's been good for me.
Yeah,
To have a community and come on Sundays and listen to the chats, and I have my like nerdy like Bible Project podcast on in the afternoons, and
nice.
like the library. And
Yes. Okay. So on that note, I'd love to, and I didn't ask you this ahead of time, but I'm wondering if over the last couple of months, there have been resources that you have tapped into. You mentioned Tom Holland, but have there been resources like the Bible Project and others that you can speak to that have really encouraged your faith, that have really helped you maybe come to a deeper understanding of things that you can like point to and say, yeah, these things here have really helped me?
they kind of all have. So I'm
They all have,
enjoying N.T. Wright's breakdowns of
The Bible for
the
Everyone
Bible
stuff?
for Everyone
Okay,
set.
yeah, you've
They're
been
really
reading
good.
those.
They're
How many
helpful
people
for
have
me.
heard of that series? We have it in our library. If you're interested in that as well, we had the Bible. He takes a book of the Bible and he writes commentary,
On
very
every
casual,
single line.
very casual,
It's super
informal,
good.
easy to, very accessible commentary all through each line of scripture, basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
Other
and
stuff.
the Jesus the Game Changer. So if you like you'd rather watch than listen or read,
Yeah,
it's really good. It's I
Okay.
think it's Australian, and there's 2 seasons.
I haven't.
And
I
they
haven't watched it.
interview people all over the world and talk about how Christianity formed what is our Western society,
Wow.
right? charity hospitals, like all these things that would not exist. I mean, and it kind of ties into Dominion by Tom Holland, because he talks a lot about, you know, the Romans and the Greeks and that ancient world. They didn't value human life, and weakness was not where it was at. You know,
it was all about power and
it was
strength.
all about power and strength. And if that was the dominant culture, we would not be living the way we are living. There's not a chance.
Right.
You know.
Boy.
Yeah, not a chance.
Helps you appreciate Jesus even more.
It does, and that's, you know, where, you know, that's where it comes from, right?
Yeah.
You know, even just something like slavery and the inequality that we still have in our world.
Yeah.
You know, as far back as Paul, you know, saying there is no Jew, there is no Greek, there is no man, there is no woman.
Yeah.
And then
I
think it was Gregory in the 5th century talking about how slavery was not Christian, you know, was not part of the Bible. And then the Quakers and how they took it to the U.S. and it was basically the Quakers kind of pressuring each other to get rid of their slaves, and how long it took, even though most of Europe had sort of gotten rid of slavery, for the rest of North America to catch on.
Yeah. It's beautiful that we can trace so much of it back to the way of Jesus and how he taught us how to live. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, are there parts of following Jesus? Many of us have been following Jesus for many years, and so this question, I'm asking this question because I think like some of us can lose sight of this, but are there parts of following Jesus that you've discovered in your new journey of faith that are particularly surprising or challenging that you can speak to? Aspects of it.
I mean, there's lots of challenging. It's loving your neighbor.
Oh, that's a hard
one. You know, we're not talking about your neighbor down the street.
No,
we're talking about your enemies and praying for your enemies. And how many of us want to do that? Like, that's really tough. You know, it's really tough. And even for someone that doesn't have a Christian background, and I know this is kind of like almost like heresy, but the cross. It's
offensive.
And you know, it took 4 centuries for people to even depict it.
Yeah.
You know, because it was so hard to understand that this powerful God would
humble himself
and die a slave's death.
Yeah.
You know, and the sacrifice that is.
Yeah.
The sacrifice and the physical sacrifice, not to mention the whole concept of it. I mean, it's humongous, right?
That's beautiful, Amy. You're going to be preaching up here
eventually.
I
think so. I like just sitting over there.
One day, I can sense something here. Okay, I want to wrap this up because it is kind of 11:25 already. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to raise your hand. But just, this is my last question on here, and I thought maybe we kind of end with this. If someone asked you why now, as in why begin this journey of faith at this point in your life, particularly as a Jesus follower, how would you answer them?
Why not now?
That's a good answer. Why not now?
I don't know. It just happened organically. It wasn't that I set out and woke up on January 1st and said, Jesus follower right here. It just happened. Like,
it's such a beautiful story,
and
isn't it?
I can't articulate it well enough to explain it, but I think probably a lot of people have a similar experience.
These promptings from what we would call the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, and that's.
By the way, Amy's getting baptized next week, so we get to celebrate her in that as well.
And not just me. I think
there's a few others as well, but she's one of our baptizees. Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much. Are there questions, friends, comments, anything you'd like to ask Amy while she's up here on the hot seat? They can be super deep theological questions. Carol. She wants to know how your husband is taking all of the changes.
He's okay. Like, he's fine with it. He just he says, have fun today, and waves off or whatever. Like, he's fine with it. You know, I've tried to engage, but some of the difficult things are getting better, and it's not. I'm not questioning. I'm not going to question. I'm just taking it.
To pray for that. That's great.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for that question. Any other
thanks, Carol.
questions or comments? Cam? So just for the sake of the recording, I'm just going to reiterate that. So Cameron's asking, when you're growing up and your dad was atheist, what was his view toward Christianity? And sort of what was that? How was that imposed on you? Is that what you're asking? Yeah.
we saw it as like weakness, right? And it was something to, if you saw someone and they said they were Christian, or they overtly expressed any Christian views, that would take you down a notch.
Huh.
Right? It was
Strength was everything. Power was everything.
Yeah. And I don't know where that came from in his family, because they're not practicing, but they're all Christian. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it's the dominant value of the world, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
I think it really is. And he's very scientific. And I think that whole, you're either this or you're this, which
Right.
doesn't really exist.
Right.
I mean, the whole reason we have science is probably Christianity, because there's
It's curiosity, to discover
curiosity,
creation,
and it was encouraged.
Yeah.
I know things get muddled later, but that's where it kind of came from, and that exploration. And this is part of creation, so let's check it out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow. Any other questions, friends? Okay. Let me just close in prayer for you, and then we're going to turn and do the bread and the cup. But I want to just pray for Amy. If everyone just feels free to just pray with me. Father, I am so grateful for Amy, and thank you that she has discovered this community, that we as a community get to be blessed by her presence and the gifts that she brings, her gentle spirit. Thank you for the work you are doing in her life, this work of transformation. Thank you for the people that she gets to interact with, and that your light is shining through her to the world around her, including your husband. And I pray for him, and I just pray that you would continue to work with Amy and draw her closer to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thanks, Amy.